In today's video, we will be looking at the laws of indices or exponents. I will also work some examples so that you guys can get a better understanding of how each law applies. An index is a small number that tells us how many times a term has been multiplied by itself. The plural of index is indices, and the word power is used interchangeably with index or indices. Let's get into our laws. So based on the screen, the first law would be our multiplication law. And the multiplication law states that when we're multiplying indices with the same base, we add the indices. So when we look here, we see where a raised to the power of m times a raised to the power of n is equal to the same thing as a raised to the power of m plus n. Let's look at an example. So say you were given 2 to the power of 2, which is the same as 2 squared, multiplied by 2 raised to the power of 3. What do we notice? They have the same base. So we're going to do what? We're going to write back our base, and then we add the indices or the power. Remember, it's the same thing. So 2 raised to the power of 2 plus 3. And this is equal to 2 raised to the power of 5. 2 raised to the power of 5 is the same thing as multiplying 2 by itself 5 times. And when we do that, we get 32. So 2 to the power of 5 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Let's move on to our division law. The division law states that when we're dividing indices with the same base, we subtract the indices, given that our base is not equal to 0. So a raised to the power of m divided by a raised to the power of n is the same thing as a raised to the power of m minus n. Let's look at an example. Say you were given 2 raised to the power of 3 divided by 2 raised to the power of 2. This would equal to 2, because that's our base, to the power of 3 minus 2, which is equal to 2 raised to the power of 1. And anything raised to the power of 1 gives us back the original value. So 2 raised to the power of 1 would be 2. Now our power law. The power law states that when there's a power outside the bracket, we multiply the powers. So a to the power of m in bracket raised to the power of n would be the same thing as a to the power of m times n. Let's look at our example. So say you were given 2 squared, which is 2 to the power of 2, in bracket, raised to the power of 3. This would equal to 2 to the power of 2 times 3. This would equal to 2 raised to the power of 2 times 3 is what? 6. And this would give us 64. Alright? Do we understand? And remember, 2 to the power of 6 is 2 being multiplied by itself 6 times. What about our zero index law? The zero index law is where any non-zero value raised to the power of 0 is equal to 1. So we have here a raised to the power of 0, we get 1. Let's look at an example. Say you were given 2 to the power of 0, this would equal to 1. What if we were given negative 2 to the power of 0? This would also equal to 1. What if it's a case where it was negative outside? We have 2 in bracket raised to the power of 0. This would equal to what? So we'd write back our negative sign. Raise 2 to the power of 0 is 1. So we would get negative 1. What if the negative was inside the bracket? So negative 2 raised to the power of 0. This would equal to what? A positive 1, because we're raising everything to the power of 0, include the negative because the negative is inside the bracket, right? You can make notes so that you guys can revise. Let's look at our negative index law. The negative index law, it states that if we have a base raised to a negative power, this is equal to the reciprocal raised to the positive power. That is, we put it over 1 and flip to make it positive. So we have here a raised to the negative n is equal to 1 over a raised to the n. Let's look at an example. Say you were given 2 to the negative 1. This would equal to 1 divided by 2 raised to the what? Positive 1. This would be equal to 1 divided by 2 raised to the positive 1. That's 2. And that would be our answer. What if we were given 2 raised to the negative 2? This would be equal to, so the first thing you do is write your 1, then your divide sign, then we write back our base 2, and we raise it to the positive power. So this was negative 2, this becomes positive 2. This is equal to 1 divided by 2 raised to the power of 2, it's 4. So that's how we manipulate our negative index law. What about our fractional index law? So with the fractional index law, when the index is a fraction, the denominator is the root of the number or letter, then we raise the answer to the power of the numerator. So we have here a raised to the power of m over n is equal to the same thing as n root of a raised to the power of m. Let's look at an example. So 8 raised to the power of 2 over 3 is equal to the same thing as our n here. So this would be our n. And this would be our m. And the 8 is our a, or it's the base. So how do we set this up? So this would be the third root of 8 raised to the power of 2. The third root of 8 is simply asking us to find a number that we multiply by itself 3 times to give you 8. And that would be 2. So that's our answer. Then we raise it to the power of 2. 2 raised to the power of 2, or 2 squared, or 2 multiplied by itself 2 times, that is equal to 4. Let's look at two more cases where the law of indices apply. So if we are given a fraction raised to a power, it is the same thing as the numerator raised to that power divided by the denominator raised to that power. So here we have a divided by b raised to the power of n is equal to the same thing as a to the power of n divided by b to the power of n, where the denominator is not equal to 0. Let's look at an example. So if we had 2 over 3 raised to the power of 4, this would equal to 2 raised to the power of 4 divided by 3 raised to the power of 4. 2 raised to the power of 4, 2 multiplied by itself 4 times, is equal to 16. And 3 raised to the power of 4, which is 3 multiplied by itself 4 times, is equal to 81. So that would be our answer, 16 over 81. Let's look at our other case where the law of indices applied. So we have here, when 2 or more terms are multiplied and then raised to a power, it is the same as the product of the individual terms raised to the power. What are we saying? So we have here a times b raised to the power of n is the same thing as a to the power of n times b to the power of n. Let's explore an example. So say you were given 3 times 6 raised to the power of 2. This is equal to 3 to the power of 2 times 6 to the power of 2. This would be equal to 3 to the power of 2 is 9 times 6 to the power of 2, that is 36. And 9 times 36 is equal to 324. I hope this video helped you to understand the laws of indices a bit better, and if there's any topic that you want me to break down, then please let me know in the comment section.